Now I'm ready to start working on the lower ball joint. So the truck is jacked up. First thing I did was undo this right here, which was for the ABS. So it's connected here. It's got a connection here. It's got another connection up here. And then I'll probably just open the hood and get the last connection out, because when you take the knuckle off, this is going to come with it. So first thing to do there is make all those disconnections so we can pull it off without hurting any. Okay, so I popped the hood open because I wanted to show where the ABS connection goes to. So this is a 2015 Ford F-150, and goes to this connection here. So this red piece right here slides up, and then the connector can be separated. Just want to share a little bit more about this ABS disconnect here. So once I got the red piece pulled out, it doesn't come all the way out, it just pulls out enough that you can then separate this. There's also this little notch on the brown piece that you're gonna have to get maybe a small screwdriver in there or something, because that hangs up on that right there. You can see down there next to the red piece there's another little tab, so that hangs up on that tab, which you also have to get a little screwdriver underneath there to pull it up. But always be careful, because these connectors can be a little brittle since they're plastic. But in this case, nothing broke, so let's move on. All right, the other thing I have to disconnect is this right here, which is for the brake line. So the ABS line is going to be out of the way, and then also have to disconnect this off the knuckle for the brake line. All right, so now I removed the caliper. So the caliper right here is, I've got it supported so it doesn't put stress on the brake line, but there's two bolts that bolt the caliper up to the knuckle. So one of them is right here, and the other one is right below that. So they were on there pretty good, so I used a breaker bar to get them off. So now the rotor is loose and can just come off. So we'll just go ahead and pull the rotor off. Then I got to pull this little cover off, which goes to the axle nut, and then we'll see what we got to do after that. Forgot to mention that also there are vacuum lines back here. So this vacuum line connects here. So you're gonna have to just pull that off. It easily pulls off. And then the next thing is removing this right here. So you got to go ahead and wiggle this out, and then you'll be able to see the nut holding on the axle. All right, so with the axle nut cap off and the axle nut off, you got to come around here and you got to separate the tie rod end here. So this nut right here needs to come off, and then supposedly a good couple whacks right here, if it doesn't separate on its own, will help separate those two. All right, so the tie rod end, so 13/16 was nice and snug on there, so I went ahead with that. I didn't need to hit it. It actually was loose on its own as soon as I started to get the nut down. So we'll go ahead and separate those. So now with the tie rod out of the way, the next thing you got to do is go ahead and remove the nut on the bottom here, which is to the ball joint. And then once that gets loosened up and taken off, we're going to go ahead and give it probably give it a few whacks to separate it from the control arm. and then we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and pull the whole knuckle off. So we're gonna have to come up here and remove this. So remember, I didn't tighten that from when I did the replacement of the upper ball joint just a little while ago. And then we'll go ahead and remove the knuckle, and then we'll have full access to that lower ball joint. All right, so I just wanted to share. So I had this nut, it was coming off, and then it got stuck. So you can see this is for the lower ball joint. So there is an Allen head type of socket connection here that you can use. So I went ahead and tried that, but it was still too tight and wasn't coming off with the Allen head socket in there, and then the wrench on the nut still wasn't coming off. So knowing the ball joint is going to get thrown out, I just went ahead and took out my grinder, and then if you can see under here, so I just went ahead and ground it off, which only took like 30 seconds. Much easier than trying to deal with how I'm gonna fix this. So, all right, so the next thing is gonna be to get the ball joint to separate from the knuckle. So with a bunch of good hits here, we should start to see the ball joint separating from the knuckle. So what I have to do next is two hands, so I can't film it, but since we got the axle nut off a while ago, what I have to do is go ahead and loosen up the upper ball joint connection there, and then the knuckle should want to fall away, and then I should be able to pick it up and get it out of the way, and then we'll have full access to where the lower ball joint is. All right, so there's the knuckle. Like I said, it came off when I disconnected the upper ball joint, so now you got the axle sitting here. You just pick it up, and I'm gonna just move it to sit right on top of the sway bar, and then full access to the lower ball joint. So what I'm gonna do is take the snap ring off and clean this up a little. I was hitting it with penetrant, so for about a day. So hopefully it'll come on out of there pretty easily, but it is the lower, so it looks kind of nasty. And then we'll clean it up and we'll get the new one in. All right, so same thing as before. As we did on the upper, we're gonna come in here, put our pliers on there for the snap ring, and pop the snap ring off first. All right, so the snap ring was rusted on there pretty good, so I took a screwdriver first, and like this, hit it with a hammer on the end so it got it to pop up and out. And now I'm just gonna take my needle nose and then pry up and get that off of there, and it should come springing off any minute. Maybe not. See how rusted on there that is. Just afraid it's gonna hit me in the face. All right, so we'll just yank it. All righty, there she is. Okay, so we got that snap ring off. We'll put a little more, clean that up again, put a little more liquid wrench on there, and then get the press on there. All right, so we got the tool on, we got the breaker bar on, the cup, the adapter to receive the ball joint, and this thing right there, just pressing on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start cranking down. So it feels like it's about to go. It just got a little looser. It was really tight, but I think it's pushing its way down now. Yep, it's almost there. Yeah, so not that much resistance anymore. There we go. All right, popped it. All right. So then I'll take the tool off. We'll clean up all around there, and we'll get the new ball joint ready. All right, so now we got our tool back on. So we got our lower receiver, which takes this cup here, and then this cup sits on the bottom, the flange going around the ball joint, and you can see this gap. So as we start pressing it up, the ball joint's going to start pressing in, and that gap will disappear. And then you've got your cup on the top, which gives space so the ball joint can come through. So it's only sitting on the control arm there. And then once we press it up, we'll go ahead and put the snap ring on, and then we'll start getting everything back together. All right, so now we got the new ball joint up and inside here. I went ahead and tightened it all down. I've got the cap on there. That just makes sure there's clearance for the ball joint to come through, and that cap is sitting on the control arm. The ball joint for the lower is this Moog ball joint, so I went ahead and used that. And now everything's tight. Everything's tight to the control arm down here, so no gap. So I can go ahead and release the tool now, and then put the snap ring on, and then start getting everything else together. So we got our snap ring on here. We went ahead and put that on. Next thing we got to do is pull this little plug out. So this is a greasable ball joint, so we're just gonna pop that plug out, and then go ahead and put inside there the grease fitting. So I'm gonna just go get a little wrench so I can wrench that down and try to get that facing either this direction or this direction when it's tightened up. That way it'll be easy to reach in and grease it if I need to. So let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll get the knuckle back in place, and then start tightening down all this other stuff. All right, now we got the knuckle back on. So we went ahead and put the castle nut in, torqued this down to 85 foot-pounds. Went ahead and put the axle nut back on, torqued that down to 20 foot-pounds. And then also on the top ball joint, the cotter pin is in, and torqued that down to 46 foot-pounds. So those are the torque specs that I was able to find. Then I put some never sees on here, so I'm going to go ahead and put the rotor on, and then I'm going to go ahead and take the caliper, put it on the rotor, and then go ahead and make sure I get the ABS wire all routed how it was. So I put the caliper on. I was able to do that without having to depress the brake cylinders in there, so I was able to get it back on. I got the cover back on over the axle. Again, the calipers, 2 bolts, one at the top and one at the bottom and the back, and then also got the ABS line on and the brake line bracket back. Rerouted the ABS line where it should be, and remember to go up and I guess underneath here the brake lines, and then connected it up inside. The last thing I have to do is put the little grease fitting here on the upper ball joint, put the tire on, and then repeat the process on the other side. All right, thanks for watching.